of $200, all of which came by mail, and all are doing well. Now, Orla, I want you to write me a long letter and port me up about your country and what your prospects are and what you intend to do. Is Finch married? Is your mother getting old and feeble? Is Laura married? Is she stout or feeble? I have a great gang of Casads about me, of all sizes and ages, from Noni down to little Jessie, who just begins to toddle about, to hunt mischief. A thing, by the way, that the Casads are great adepts at. There are seven of them in all, and I will bet the last mule I have got that they can raise the biggest row on short notice of any 7 the same age, size, and sex between the Atlantic and the Pacific. None of them have ever been sick, and it stands to reason they should be free of the devil. Enclosed, I send you a photo of your old uncle, who has seen 70 years and who begins to realize that his days will soon be numbered. Yours truly, T. Casad. Now there in one letter, you get a real feel. This is the 20th of June of 1875. He hasn't even been here for a full calendar year, and he already has very extensive plans, very heavily involved in experimental agriculture, very keen sense of humor. And Orla did in fact come and join him. They didn't really get along and he ended up going back to Illinois. If you like these letters, I recommend, again, you can find these and read them. Had I been able to put everything in the book that I had wanted to, the book would have been 100 extra pages, and that probably would have been a bit much. And of course, this is the family home. I have some questions that maybe you folks can, afterwards when we're at our leisure, you can tell me. I know that there was a huge structural crack in the wall of the home. I still don't really understand the circumstances for why the home was taken down. I have talked to people that said it was a great shame, but it could be that it was structurally unsound. We do know that the original home was 1 story, and Tom Casad added the 2nd story to the home. And in the book, we also have, there are lots of little people here in the front, and they're all identified. This is the famous Casad orchard, and in the picture, the woman you can't see on the left or on the right is Fabian Casad. Well, it sort of felt like that. Fabian Garcia's grandmother. And also, in the course of doing this research, Fabian Garcia has been a great mystery. Nobody really knew who his parents were, what the circumstances were. Well, I know that now, and I've written an article about that. We know who his parents were. We know when he was born. We know all those things, and that all came out of doing this research. So that was... Now, one thing that is fascinating is if you read the newspapers and you read what everybody says about the famous Casad orchard, they talk about all the varieties of apples that were there, and how dangerous the codling moth was too, and that was something that Fabian Garcia became very interested in, and presumably it was because of his experience. And I've even read of train car loads of apples that were being produced by this orchard. Humboldt, in his interview, if you've read it, he said, really the orchard was no big deal at all. There were only 2 varieties that produced apples, and the fact that his mom had won blue ribbon at the World's Fair for her apples was really no big deal. So that now has become a question to me. I don't really know whether this was a fantastic orchard or whether it wasn't. I'll be interested if anybody has opinions on that later. As you see, this Mesilla Valley Independent, Tom Casad also was one of the editors on the masthead in this particular one. which is from 1877, is A.J. Fountain, John S. Crouch, and Thomas Casad. So also a newspaperman of some renown in the valley. Larry made allusion to the fact that the Casad family occasionally wound up on entangled with the justice system. This is one such case, the Territory versus Thomas Casad. Thomas Casad, among the things he was experimenting with was raising hogs in Mesilla. Again, this is something that Humboldt comments on. Donald Bennett asks him, what about the flies? And so there were several nuisance suits where the Territory sued Tom Casad. This one happens to be over another alleged murder.